Welcome to another edition of Live Arts 30 Plays in 30 Days, better known as 30 in 30. Pardon me. I'm Susen, and I'm the Education Director at Live Arts. Thank you so much for joining us today, Memorial Day 2020. And our sincere thanks go out to all of those who have served our country in the armed forces. Tonight, we will be talking about the 2014-15 season at Live Arts. And in a moment, I will be joined by production team member extraordinaire, Kathleen Muller, and later on this episode by local hero, Denise Stewart. But first, I want to take a second to recognize Vita Nova Pizza. If you have not eaten a Vita Nova Pizza, they're on the downtown mall. Their food is absolutely delicious. Live Arts partnered with them last summer to do our Pizza in the Park days for camp. They were incredibly wonderful to work with, very accommodating, gave us a great rate. They also have supplied our builds all year long with pizza. We just adore them. And so please find a way to support them during this difficult time for restaurants if you possibly can. All right. And now, without further ado, I would like to welcome Kathleen Muller.
Hey.
Hey. Oh, you're all sideways.
Am I sideways?
You're sideways. No, you're good now. Nice.
Yeah.
All right. So, hi, how are you?
I'm good, and you?
I'm so good. So for those of you out there in internet land, this amazing person is someone who's so familiar to me because she's in the Live Arts building all the time. But if you only are ever in the audience at Live Arts, you actually may not know who Kathleen is. And so that's one of the reasons we really wanted to bring her on to this series to talk about the incredible job, all the work that she's done for Live Arts and all the many roles that she's played over the years. And I wanted to say that the first time I met you was actually when I was a new staff member. Long story long, I was a staff member one other time from 2014 to 15. I was the education director. And I think it was probably my second day of work. And Tracy Skipper, who was the director of engagement at that time, said, well, and of course, you know Kathleen Muller. And I was like, I don't. She's like, you have to know her. She does everything. She is the best. And upon further acquaintance, I was able to determine that Tracy was, in fact, totally correct about that. So apart from being the best, can you tell us a little bit about how you came to do all your many, many volunteer jobs at Live Arts? Oh, and also you might want to say one little note about your name before you get started, because your name is an interesting story too.
Well, okay, so everybody, and even when I say what is going up with my name, nobody can remember it. So I'll go through it. My official legal birth certificate name is Kathleen, but when I was living and working in Seattle, my boss one day wrote a note to himself, and he said, need to talk to Kathleen about blah, 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 blah. And I said, everybody who saw that note was like, oh, that's such an awesome name. So from then on, my name was Kathleen. And so I kind of adapted it as my internet name, it's my email name. So therefore everyone's like, is it Kathleen or Kathleen? Do you really care? And I'm like, no, really, either one. I answer to it all. And, just be nice about it.
Well, I'm so glad that you explained that, because I think many people have wondered, and you were Kathleen on all the advertisements for the show. So
yeah,
I thought we better get that out of the way. So Kathleen, when did you first come to Live Arts?
Okay, so I guess it was the 2011-2012 season. My first show that I worked at, it was Clybourne Park. And I had, for a long time, like 9.5 years, I was working in Richmond. And so my whole life was get up, drive to Richmond, work, leave Richmond, get home, go to sleep, and then repeat day after day after day. So there was like no time for anything, and raise my daughter. And
yeah,
and
that's a full schedule right there.
Exactly. And she was an ice skater. But anyways,
oh my gosh.
Yeah, fun times. So once I stopped working there, I was like, oh my God, there's like 3.5 hours where I don't have to do anything. I'm not in the car. So I immediately went on to the website at Live Arts because I've always loved theater, and I did a lot of stuff when I was in high school and so in college. And so I filled out the application online, which I cannot say is enough. It's like the best thing that I didn't have to talk to anybody. I got to stay that behind the scenes person and just fill out my name and say how wonderful I was.
And this is still the case today, folks. If you'd like to volunteer and you're feeling shy, or even if you aren't feeling shy, either way, it's a very easy process. You're just an email away.
Yep. And I was immediately emailed back, and they're like, hey, come to the build on Tuesday so we can, see if you like it and introduce you to everybody. And so that was it. The build for Claiborne. No, wait a minute. Did I say Claiborne Park? No,
You
it
did.
was Circle Mirror. It was Circle Mirror Transformation was
Got
my
it.
first one. And so came in and started building for Circle Mirror Transformation, and with Grady, and Scott Dunn was the volunteer coordinator at that time. And so, yeah, I was hooked immediately. Howard Pape was there. So I had like the A-team introduction to live arts, and
Absolutely.
big open arms. I was so excited.
So you started out sort of as helping in whatever way at a set build that you could, and then you moved on. Did they like ask you, like when you were first asked to do kind of like a level up type of position, like what did you do next? Did you run a board or?
Yeah, so for Circle Mirror Transformation, I was like, yeah, I know things. I am a video kind of techie person. And they're like, hey, can you run the light board? And I said, sure. And so I did it there. I was super nervous and I made lots of mistakes, but I made it through and got better. And moved up from there. And I think soon after that, Jeremiah, who was production manager at the time, and he was like, hey, you can handle yourself. I think I want you to do more. And so he asked me to assistant stage manage for August Osage County. And from there, I was able to go to Fringe. So, yeah.
Okay, and so for those listening who don't know what the Fringe is or don't know what Live Arts' involvement in the Fringe might be, maybe we can give a quick history lesson there.
Yes, so for Fringe and Live Arts, it's when I started with it, it was, and I think it's been going on since the early 90s, mid 90s, and American High School Theater Festival was started as part of Live Arts. And what Live Arts does is they are the theater technicians in the venues for American high schoolers who bring their shows over to the Fringe and every year. And so we are there to enable the students to put on their shows and learn the ways of theater and quick changes and tech. And okay, you've got 15 minutes to set your show up, you have 90 minutes to run your show, and then you have 15 minutes to take it down and you're out the door and move on. We're on to the next people. And so you get to meet a whole bunch of great kids. They get to have the time of their life, and you do too, because it's just so much fun. Edinburgh is amazing at that time.
I've never been. It is #goals. I believe has been canceled for this year, possibly, or at least the Live Arts portion has been canceled. So
no, the whole thing's been canceled for this year. It's unfortunate, but a good idea for sure.
Yes, and something to look forward to.
Yeah, can't wait for next year.
And so then I know that you've stage managed a lot of times. When was your first experience? Or I guess you said you had assistant stage manage, and then when were you like flying solo?
Flying solo. That was with Grey Gardens. And I had an amazing assistant stage manager of Sarah Kane, who, big shout out to Sarah. She and I were a great team, and that was her first experience at Live Arts. So, we had a good time today. Yeah.
That is wild. And baby Iris Susan, who's my daughter, was in Grey
That's
Gardens.
right.
That was her first live art show. And so
Yeah,
I think there were 18 performances, and I believe
probably.
that I saw 16 of them.
Yeah.
And enjoyed myself every time. I ushered and sat up in the balcony. I loved that show so much. It was excellent.
Yeah, it was a really great show.
For people who don't know, can you tell us a little bit about like what a stage manager does for a production and why you would want to do the work that a stage manager does?
Well, as I alluded to my application thought process, I like staying behind the scenes. I'm not a necessarily upfront person, although I don't mind being loud, proud, and telling anybody I can about how wonderful live arts is. But I like the I like being that nerdy organizer and that because I find it creative. I find it really fun to figure out how to bring a group of people who may not know each other or who may know some things about one person but not everything about everybody, and help be a part of that team building process. And that's my favorite part about stage managing, is just being part of that group, being a part of all the rehearsals and the way that you build a family. And so that's why I love stage managing. And it speaks to my nerdy, I have to, I guess, control freak, which some people would say, way of wanting to organize everybody and keep everybody on their toes and keep them in the right places. So.
Well, you're the velvet hammer for sure. Like you might have a control freak side, but I feel like have a great way of managing people and firmly, with authority, but also not in a mean or like snippy way. I feel like you stay very calm.
Thank you.
Yes,
thank you. Well, I have to props to my mom. For I'm the youngest of like 10, so from day one it was all about how to keep us organized. We would sit down every meal, dinner, and she'd pull out the calendar, she'd slap it down on the table, and she'd be like, okay, what is everyone doing? And she'd write it all down. And we only had 2 cars, and so we had to figure out who was driving who where, and then she'd pull out her smokes and start smoking.
and well deserved they were.
Exactly.
And so that's really actually like not that different from what you do as a stage manager. You kind of pull out the calendar and you say, here's when you're all called, and how are you going to get there, and what do you need? And and I would say first to the building and last to leave also.
Oh yeah. Which is fine. I like that part too, because it speaks to that. I get to be the one who comes in and sets it all up, and then gets to put it all away and make sure it's all set for the next day. And I'm happy.
Satisfaction in that. And
exactly,
then you
exactly.
also have been a sound designer, if I'm not mistaken. How did you get started doing that?
Well, kind of just, I don't know. They asked me one time, and in fact, it was for this season. This 2014 season was the first time I did sound designing, and I love it. I think for me, I'm a very visual and auditory person, so I really like putting music and sounds to a piece so that it can, bring it out, enhance it, kind of highlight things that you want to highlight, that sort of thing.
Yeah. And did you have to learn to use a special program? Like do you work in a program, or how do you do it?
Well, with my video background, I tend to use my video programs that I'm used to, and it works fine for me. If I was more of an audiophile person, I'd probably end up using more audio fine programs, but I can get away with it.
Yeah, I wanted to sort of like put that out there because I feel like people are intimidated to try because they feel like they have to know there's this barrier to entry. Like, I'm going to have to know this specialized information. And I think there are lots of different ways to make it work is what I have observed.
Exactly. And there's also, amazing resources resources just surrounding you. I know Jeremiah was at the time, because he was there, he was a huge resource for me when I first started. And, since I'm there and Jeremy's there and Annie and, everybody who's been a part of any team is a great resource to kind of say, hey, I just want to make sure I'm utilizing this the best I can. In fact, like for Follies, was it Follies? Yeah, I think it was for Follies. Liz was like, because I did sound design for that as well, as producing. And Liz taught me something particular for that, and I was like, hey, that's amazing. So you're always learning, which is the best thing. I love that.
It's really cool too that you're open to that. I feel like that's part of what's made you such a stalwart volunteer and such a great part of our community. But you're never sort of like, I know it all. You're like, yeah, I'd love to learn. And you did mention this briefly, but one other role that you've played a lot is producing. And maybe you could tell us a little bit about what a producer does. I think a lot of people do not know.
And okay, sure. I would say I know, but I don't. It's different for every show. It really is. But you're there to be that glue for the team. And you're there to be the liaison between the staff and the team and the director, and a way to be the person, the go-to person to say, hey, I may be having a problem here. Can you help me find a resource to help me with something? That's what a producer is there for. Also, as a way to help with marketing and the production meetings, and to keep things just the ball rolling, and to try to keep people on task and on schedule. Yeah. I won't say on budget, but hey, sure.
Yeah, it's almost like the producer stage manages the production team and the stage manager stage manages the cast in some ways. It's an inexact science. Well, thank you so much for walking us through all of that. Do you have a favorite role that you love to play, or do you just equally enjoy the different things?
I love them all. I guess I would say stage managing the best. Producer would be a very close second. Because it's the being a part of it throughout the entire show, not just from the beginning of rehearsals, but also through all the performances, which, and then it comes into being a board operator too. I love seeing the progression of the show. I love seeing the show over and over again. I'm the type of person that watches movies 6 times. I just like seeing it because I can see different things every time I see it. So, and it's really fun to me.
That's funny that you say that. I feel I'm the same. And I also reread books a million times. Like I'm just a if I like it, I really like to observe the life of something. So that's interesting. Well, I know that you played a lot of roles actually in the 2014-15 season. And so maybe we could look at the slideshow and talk about some of the shows from that season. So to kick it off, it was The Sugar by our own Denise Stewart. Yay! We're looking forward to getting to talk to her later in the evening, although I don't know, I got kind of a weird text from her, so it did seem like
I don't know.
I
want to see Denise.
Seemed like she was tied up, but hopefully she'll make it later in the broadcast.
Okay.
But
I'm sure
this
she
is
will.
An original show by Denise. It followed up on, from Live Arts' perspective, it followed Dirty Barbie, which is her one-woman show. But this obviously cast with an incredible cast, including Claire Chandler in the lead role. She was so fantastic and so funny. Alec Beard. Who is a wonderful actor, and he is also, I wanted to give a little shout out, a little love to Kim Beard, who's our longtime database specialist. These pictures of Claire are amazing. She is so good in this role. And
funny thing about the pizza box, if I just may say, funny thing about that pizza box is at the time we had someone who was cleaning up at Live Arts, and who would often go backstage to make sure everything was cleaned up, and they would throw my pizza boxes away. And that was the stage management of that was like, oh no, not again.
That looks like trash, but it's a prop.
It's a prop. Don't touch it.
And this is directed by Ray Netzel, who is on staff. He actually is on the Fringe team. He runs the Fringe team.
Yep.
And he and Denise have worked together a lot of times. He also worked on Dirty Barbie as her, I think, sort of producer and helper and fixer. I'm sure he had a more title, but anyway, this was an awesome show, and this was my first talkback that I ever led in my capacity as education director, and I was so nervous. And of course, because everyone in the entire cast and production crew were amazing and hilarious, I didn't have to do anything. I was just like, tell me about your experience. And then, the whole thing was over, and it was awesome. Oh my gosh.
Well, before we move on, I wanted to tell just one story about the sugar. And that is that it was the first show after the lobbies were redone. So, because it was the first show of the season. And so we were in tech, we'd gone all through rehearsals, everything was all set, and we were in the Sunday of tech. And all of a sudden, it's a late night, we're all really tired. And all of a sudden we just hear this loud noise, and we're like, oh my God, what is that? Nobody knew what it was. We were all like, where is it? What is it? We're the only people in the building. We all ran out of the theater. We were looking all around the third floor. Where is that noise coming from? And we come back in, and I look up at the ceiling, and I'm like, I thought the wall was attached to the ceiling, but it seems like there's a gap there right now. And everyone's like, no, I don't remember that gap being there, but it could have been there. We couldn't, we were just so tired. Come to find out, the brackets holding up the ceiling had failed. And luckily there's that grid there, because it fell on top of the grid.
Holy cow. I did not remember that. And I don't think I'm not sure I even knew that. That sounds so stressful. I can't imagine.
It was crazy. We were all like, I think the ceiling broke.
And did the show still open on time? Like,
oh yeah, all we had to do, the Monday of tech, we had to do rehearsal in rehearsal A. They immediately brought in a crew and, did whatever they had to do. They fixed it up. By Tuesday, we were back in the theater. Oh my God. And opening night went off like a hitch. I mean, no hitch at all. It was just one of those stay calm and keep moving on situations. And I have to say, shout out to the entire cast and crew. We were all like, okay, we can do this. All right.
That is true. The show must go on moment. And as stage manager, I'm sure that was just a little bit stressful. So well done.
Yeah, it was like, how many people can I text at one time?
And then next up in that season was Les Miserables, which, I mean, we can't say enough good things about this production.
Incredible. It was incredible show.
I remember we heard that they had chosen it, and I was like, how's that going to work? Like, that's not going to be good in the Gibson. That's not, don't have enough sets. It's, no, I was so wrong. It was, Jocelyn had a great vision for it.
Yeah, it was so beautiful. And the starkness of the psych and just the minimalism of that set, you can see it here, was just so impactful. It was great. They did such an amazing job. I know rebuilding that little pile here it is again. Every night was kind of like, we hope it holds together, but it worked.
The hilarious thing is how many of those things we still use. So Chris Esty was in this show. Incredible child actors in this show. Violet Craighead-Way, this is her first show. Finn Faulkner, his first show at Live Arts. Grayson, it's his first show. Elena Witt, these kids were like, I mean, as wonderful as the adults were, the kids were just truly exceptional. It was a great multi-generational experience. Here's our own Liz Howard, now our volunteer coordinator, playing Madame Thenardier, probably sporting a similar hairdo now that she's in quarantine. This is a good quarantine look for anyone. Opposite John Cobb, who was just amazing as Thenardier. And this is Hank Fitzgerald and Allison Reed and Chris Esty, just the caliber of voices in the show were out of control.
Outstanding. It was outstanding. And it was so successful too. It had sold like the most tickets ever?
I think that's
Something
right.
like that. Is that right?
Yeah, that's my memory. And I think it also had the longest extension. So it sort of had the longest run maybe that Live Arts has ever put together. So it was wild. And then we come to Crooked, which was the exact opposite.
Yeah.
It's a very small, intimate
Tiny.
show. Yeah,
Yep.
3-person cast. And I produced Crooked because it was the Mentor Apprentice show. And so
and I was sound designing for this show. Yep.
That's right. And I paired you up with an apprentice, and you were very brave, and you did a wonderful job.
Yeah, it was wonderful. Rowan, he was great. He was really collaborative. We had a great time with Kate, who was an amazing director. And
yes,
so,
this was her first directing gig at Live Arts. She was a natural, absolutely wonderful.
Yeah, I loved working with her. It was so fun to collaborate with her for sure. And the kids were incredible.
The kids were incredible. Yeah, we had 2 wonderful teen actresses, Dora and Helena. And Helena went on to be in Xanadu later in the season, and Dora was one of my camp counselors that summer.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And then
amazing.
Rowan, I was going to say, Rowan actually went from Crooked and then was a board op for 3 other shows that season. He just did an awesome job. So next up was Vanya and Sonia and Masha and Spike by Christopher Durang in the Gibson, directed by the great Julie Hamburg.
Yeah.
At that time.
This was such a fun show. I loved watching this show.
Yeah.
Zuby was so incredible in this.
I've always loved Linda Zuby's work, but this was definitely a standout role for her. Jen Downey, completely hilarious.
Oh, amazing.
TJ Ferguson and Bill. Oh my gosh, the set was beautiful too. I looked up who designed the set, and now I don't have my notes next to me, so I am worthless and should never run.
I'm going to look that up right now. Who was set designer? Was Jerry King.
Oh yeah, he did an amazing job. It was it was
beautiful.
And Jerry Shermer was in this as well.
Mm-hmm.
It was definitely an all-star cast. That Snow White dress was too much.
Who did costume designer was Amy Goffman, of course.
Because it was impeccable and perfect. Okay, next up, running in rep in the Founders. This was such a amazing achievement. 2 two-hand shows, The Mountaintop by Katori Hall and Gruesome Playground Injuries by Rajiv Joseph. And let's see, Chris Patrick directed Gruesome Playground Injuries, and Fran Smith directed The Mountaintop. And they shared a set, which must have just been such an incredible stage management challenge. Our own Chris Kelly was one of the stage managers, I know.
And Scott Dunn, I think, was a stage manager for Mountaintop. And it was, when I saw Gruesome, I was on the floor laughing. I love this show so much. It's the first time I had seen Virginia, and it was just like, oh my gosh, it's incredible.
Virginia Warner is a star, and Stan Marshall, who played opposite her, is one of my very favorite people in the world, actually, amazing. And just an incredible person to work with. He went on to do Fun Home with me in the 2017-18 season. They were perfectly matched. They did this incredible makeup that they had to do on stage in front of everyone. It was just it was such an achievement. It was a great show. And The Mountaintop, directed by Fran Smith. And this was my first.
So powerful.
Yeah, this was my first encounter with Deandra Irving.
Mm-hmm.
Who, was amazing in this show. And then William Hall, I believe is his last name, was played opposite and played Martin Luther King Jr. And he was I think his first show at Live Arts as well.
It was William Jones. Yeah.
Sorry, William Jones. I'm so sorry. William, if you're watching, that's my bad. Anyway, but look how different this set is. And they would swap back and forth. How in the world? That must have been. kind
It
of a
was
nightmare.
incredible. I think the stage managers were like, we will never do this again, but we had fun doing it while we did.
I was going to say we've never done rep again. But it was great. These are two of my very favorite shows I've ever seen at Live Arts. I've loved both of them. Look at Deandra.
In the founders of all things, a really small space, they did this. Oh, yay, Fight
and
Night.
Then Fight Night. So Fight Night was wild. It was a wild ride, but directed by Larry Goldstein. And
Go
yeah,
ahead.
You did the sound design, I think, if I'm not mistaken, and then
no, I was stage manager for this. Deborah Ehrenstein did the sound design, and we flipped the Gibson, and so here you go. Here you can see the audience. They're backed up against the El Capitan or the back wall, and then the stage was where the audience usually sits, because we wanted it to feel like a TV studio. And so we had the monitors you can see there, and Keisha was the host of the show, and then you had your contestants, and everyone was voting, live voting. And so Caroline, who is my assistant, she and I think, in this picture you can see on the side there's a little table. That's where we would sit, and we would run the computer and make sure that the slides were proper and showed the right voting results on all the monitors right there above. So it was pretty incredible, fun time.
It was really challenging. It was an awesome show. Edwina Herring was in that. Just wanted to always shout out Edwina. I love her. Her work's amazing.
Totally. Amazing.
And now
Xanadu, yay!
It's not like I had a favorite show from this season. However, I did see Xanadu 6 times with my kids because they loved it so much, and it was so funny and great. An amazing set by Carrie Moran.
Oh my God, incredible.
Roller skaters who were trained by some of the Charlottesville Derby dames, as I recall, and not a single accident during the entire run, which is such
yay.
So many familiar faces. Tim Reed was in this, as he was also in Fight Night. He was so fantastic in both, and I'd never heard him sing, and his voice is like butter. He's a great, beautiful singing voice.
Yeah, beautiful.
And Trevor Kraft. And
these kids were great. They
were so good. It's Erin, and I'm forgetting her, I'm blanking on her last name right now, but she does a lot of work at the Wayne Theater now. I know, because she's
really?
Waynesboro. Yeah.
That's great.
Yes, and just all these cuties. I think Trisha Emlet did the costumes, but the costumes were insane. They were amazing.
Yeah, it was incredible. I'm going to look that up. I'm going to cheat and look at my thing. No, the costume designer was Amalia.
It was Amalia. Oh my gosh, I should have remembered that because she did such a funny splatter paint background publicity shot for it that was brilliant. And I take it with me to all the camp shows because everyone always loves that show. Anyway, okay. So that was a great season. Thank you so much for walking down that memory lane with me. And now I think we're going to be joined by Denise Stewart, which is
I can't wait.
I'm looking forward to asking her some questions about what it's like to work on Sugar and premiere a show at Live Arts. Like she's done it twice, which is wild. So,
and how she's faring during this great quarantine.
Yeah, that's an open question, I'd say, for all of us.
Here she comes. It's Denise. Oh,
hey,
wait a minute.
Is
that Denise?
Hi.
Who's there?
What's going on?
What? Oh my.
Who's there?
What?
I think
these are this is how the aliens were going to come. I knew it. Are y'all aliens?
No. Well, actually, isn't your name Tammy? Is that real?
I'm Tammy.
Wait a minute.
Yeah.
I'm Tammy, everybody. Hello.
Right.
Take us to the mothership. We're ready.
Okay, so you all live with Denise? Is that right?
No, Denise takes care of me, and Mindy takes care of Tina. Mindy looks after me. We can't be in the same house because no one can handle it.
That's right. I'm remembering this now. I see. It's really nice that your masks have your names. That was really helpful.
So where's Denise?
Yeah.
Where's Denise then, Tammy?
Well, she got a little bit, well, how can I say this?
Do you have her
I can tell you,
phone, right? Do you have her phone?
I can tell you all the truth. So earlier today, she was listening to a podcast about coffee enemas. And listen, if anybody's in need of a reboot, it's Denise. And so she got all the ingredients, all the pieces that she needed, and she went in the bathroom, I don't know, like 2 o'clock. And that's when I just took my chance, and I took the phone, and I got a hold of Tina, and that's how we got out of the house.
Oh, I see. So
you
it
left
seems,
Denise.
yeah. It seems like Denise won't be joining us. It's just gonna be you all then.
Join us. What are we doing?
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, great. So yeah, we are talking about Denise. And so Tammy, I don't know how much you know about Denise's involvement with live art, but any information that you could give us about her time at Live Arts, or sort of her favorite project. We're just talking about her work, you know, as a playwright and an actor and a director.
Y'all see Tina fall out.
That is not a Prius, I'll tell you that.
That thing don't put itself up right. All right, y'all want to know about Denise? Well, all I can say when it comes to Life Arts is that she would always come home and say, from work, and say, I got to go to Life Arts tonight. You're going to have to make yourself another.
Are you saying Life Arts?
She said she had to go to Life Arts, and I said, okay,
Life
night
Arts.
after night after night. And the more I thought about it, the more I thought, hey, listen, if there's anybody who wants to take Life Arts and get an audience for them, it ought to be Denise.
What
Well, and I don't know about, now, Tina, ain't that why you think Mindy goes? Why you think Mindy goes?
Close. I thought it was Life Arts, like a support group for people that are shy about their farts, so they have to go to a meeting about them, like alcoholics are on the bus, which is kind of like the wagon, but it's easier to get on and off of. I thought it was something to help people be proud of it, and she was the leader, because you know how she is with hummus.
And with
Blames others.
coffee enemas too, apparently. Yeah.
No one
Now,
knows
what do
that.
y'all do?
So
Where are y'all? I see that one of y'all is out in the jungle.
Uh-oh.
yes, I'm in
You
the
got all them flowers.
I'm in my quarantine jungle. What have you all been doing during your quarantine? Have you been quarantining? I see you seem a little confused about how masks can help when you're outdoors. It seems like you're not really like using them, 100% properly. I'm not trying to be critical. I'm just
No, it depends on how far away we are and how much hot pink or coral lipstick we have. If we feel like putting makeup on our chins is the main determiner. Uh-oh, I think she's getting, Tammy, I think you're going to get stuck and I can't help you. I can't help her.
Well,
You found
Uh-oh.
I was trying to get a help.
What's going on? Is that your house where you're staying now? Oh no!
Guess what?
That's
I'm
one
just
of
gonna
our
have a
hobbies.
drink for this one.
Yeah, we've been doing parkour.
Yeah.
Been doing.
We've been doing our gymnastics, and we've been dehydrating stuff.
Yeah, we've been doing new like space food for when the aliens come and retrieve us, so we can take it to space.
That's why that was top of
Dehydrated
mind.
a lot of good stuff.
Yeah. So like what do you dehydrate?
Yeah.
Oh God, you name it. We have really branched out. Mugu pan, pickles. Call them crazy.
How are you dehydrating that?
You just put
leave
the
it out
whole
in
thing in there.
What?
You just put the whole thing. Denise went on a kick, and she got herself a dehydrator, and then she quit using it. So we took upon ourselves.
I blow dry it. I'll get the blow dryer after it. We got we do like gummy bears and do little wrinkly dinkly old man gummy bears. They're like raisins. We call them gazins. You can just take the first letter of a word and match it to something else and make something new. Chimichangas, vegetarian combo number 4. We dehydrated that. Oh, Fiesta shrimp salad. Fiesta shrimp salad's real good when you can take it on the trail.
Wow.
So good.
Do you eat
So
any of
do-
these things?
No,
Like-
listen. All right. Here's what was, we thought we really had our own business going. And then COVID-19 hit. And Mindy got so upset about it. She started rehydrating everything that we had dehydrated, except she was rehydrating it with Everclear. And then she was
Uh-oh.
eating it. And then I was dehydrating her, and
Sure.
that's how Tina got out in the first place.
Oh,
So that's how she got away. I get it.
Is she using Mendy's phone? Like, where is Mendy?
No, I didn't want to let this on until it kicked in, but Mindy with COVID-19, she's so gosh darn extroverted. It got to her, and she took a liking to Everclear. So what I started doing so I could sneak out was to dehydrate everything, and then to rehydrate it with Everclear. So last I saw her, she was on the bathroom floor. Asleep, watching that 70s show.
That doesn't seem like, is she okay though, Tina?
Oh yeah, she's good. She can handle it. She's from Southern Virginia. She's good. She's all right.
So you're gonna give her some of the dehydrated stuff when you get back?
I might. I'll see how she's doing. I might give her like a burrito con carne or something like that. Rejuice it, maybe put something good in it, like rehydrate it with Sunny D or something to give her a little vitamin C.
Oh
But
my. What is happening?
right now, I'm out.
What do we do to the
Right
dog?
now, I'm out.
Did you all have something to do with that? What happened to that dog?
They got so much good art down here.
Yeah. Yeah, what do you know about kind of Denise's and Mendy's future plans? Do they
Well, based on what happened today, here's what I can tell you. Based on what happened today, I think she'll be cruising to a new project with this enema. And so if Life Farts gets a submission pretty soon titled The Coffee, I think you're going to have a pretty good idea.
So is that like a sequel to the sugar? Is that what that is?
Yeah,
with
you could call it the bottom half of the sugar.
with 100% more enemas?
Ow! You got to watch what she
Sounds
did.
good to me.
Well, yeah, that sounds like something Live Arts should definitely consider.
Oh no! Speaking of that,
I would do that.
I think they're coming. Oh God! I just caught a whiff of Denise's Estee Lauder perfume. Oh shoot!
Okay.
We got.
Well,
She just updated Facebook. That means she's awake, sitting on the toilet, because she only updates the Facebook when she's sitting on the toilet.
Oh no!
It was really nice to see you all, but I think maybe you should
Thanks for
put
coming, guys.
those phones down. I'm a little concerned. That's electronic.
Don't. If I hear
You're breaking up. You're freezing.
Oh my
If
God!
Alec
I hope
Beard
they're
is there,
safe. Stay safe,
if
guys.
Alec Beard is there, and y'all talking about the sugar, tell him we miss his mustache. And Denise said we can't come back to Live Arts with our crayons no more on account of us lusting after him. So tell him
Uh-oh.
we're sorry.
I
But
mean,
we know where he lives, and we'll find him.
that's terrifying. I'll make sure
We know where
to
him
tell
and
him
his
that you
eyebrows
said that.
We triangulated it.
Well, yes, as we can see, you do have excellent tech skills. And I'd just like to say again, I'm not sure you're making safe choices right now. I'm worried about both you and
Yeah, I hope you guys stay safe.
Well, I have
Um,
a life motto. It's called rules are for other people.
Yep.
That's not the right time to be saying this. So it's just a Tammy rule. And that's why she gets locked in the house all the time.
Uh-oh. I drink to that.
Yeah, cheers.
I don't be driving with all that Everclear in her. Whew. Lord.
I could use a little Everclear, honestly.
I think so. Me too.
Yeah.
So, Kathleen, it was just delightful to talk to you, almost as delightful as it was to have been joined by the Tip Top Twins.
Yeah,
When
I always
you-
love the Tip Top Twins. They're fun.
I do too.
And a
yes.
mile a minute.
Especially- That's right. Yes. And I certainly hope that
They're running
Jason
away.
and we are doing okay and weathering quarantine well. I've got some doubts
Me
based
too.
on the information we just heard, but we're gonna cross our fingers and stay strong, all of you. All right. So thank you so much, Kathleen, and thank you all for spending a lovely evening with us and with our guests, both invited and non. If you do feel moved to do so, please help us continue our mission of forging theater and community by donating to our Forge Ahead campaign. You can find the link, I'm sure, pinned to the comments below. Be sure to join us tomorrow evening when we'll be talking about the 2015-16 season with Marianne Kubik, who is another Charlottesville legend. Yes, it's going to be a great show, I'm sure. So
I love Marianne.
I do too, and so it'll be a good one. And so thank you again, and thank you to everyone, and thank you to the twins, and we will hope to see you all soon.
All right.